As you know, the Trump presidency is in the toilet. Absolute disaster. Everyone's regretting voting for him. It's a mess. He's never been less popular. The entire thing is crumbling down around you. I'm kidding. You don't know that because you watch this show. But if you were watching most of cable news and broadcast news, or if you read the New York Times and Washington Post, that's what you've been told on a regular, ongoing basis, especially in the days since the tariff announcement. So imagine our surprise when we tuned in this morning to CNN to take a look-see at a segment they did about Trump's polls, especially Trump's popularity or lack thereof post-tariffs. Specifically, what kind of support he has for the first 70 days of his presidency as he's rolled out his promised agenda. Let's see what CNN has to say.
I think there was this concern among some folks that Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle. What am I talking about here? Let's talk about Trump executive orders in 2025. He's already signed 111 so far. That is the most at this point in a presidency in at least 100 years. In fact, it's the most in any single year, and we're only in April, since Harry S. Truman in the early 1950s. The bottom line is whether you like Trump or you don't like him, you can't say that he's come in and not try to deliver on what he at least believes was his promises on the campaign trail, and he's doing so in historic fashion.
How are people reacting to and feel about Trump's approach?
Yeah, okay. So Trump's approach here, what are we talking about? Trump's approach to presidential power. I think the American people recognize what he's doing here is completely different. We're talking, get this, 86% of the American public believes that Trump's approach to presidential power is completely different from past presidents, compared to only 14% who believe it is in line with precedent. And we're talking about at least 79% of Democrats, independents, and Republicans. So again, you can agree or you can disagree with Donald Trump. But what you can't disagree with is that he's doing things very differently. I have used the Frank Sinatra quote before. He is doing it, quote unquote, my way. And that is what Donald Trump has done throughout both of his presidential terms. And he's certainly doing that, Kate Baldwin, in term number 2.
All right. Now, that's great stuff. And it's very interesting. And it certainly breaks down not just the public perception of Trump as a forceful, proactive leader, but also a leader who is using his executive power to carry out what he promised he would do. But there's another aspect of this that I want to bring to the table, something that you might not get elsewhere. And let's face it, that's probably why you come here in the first place. Remember a couple of weeks, I mean, that was last week, I guess, now that I think about it. Boy, these weeks are action-packed, aren't they? Remember last week when the big narrative from those same media people on those same outlets had their hair on fire over Trump suggesting that he could run for a third term, right? Remember that whole thing? Trump's third term. He can't do that. It's unconstitutional. This is a coup. He's a dictator. And every single time Trump was asked about it, he would say, I don't really want to talk about that, but a lot of people are telling me that I should run. And there is a way to do it legally, but I don't really want to talk about that. Remember, and you just kept pulling on that thread. He kept poking the bear. Karoline Leavitt also pretty much the same way. Karoline was, I don't know why you guys keep asking him about that. He doesn't want to talk about it. He hasn't raised it. But, you know, there are a lot of people, growing consensus, who want him to, you know, stay for a third term. And then, of course, Trump even went further and said, it would really be my fourth term, but I don't want credit for that second term because they didn't let me serve and Biden ruined everything. All right. Here's my hypothesis, if you will. That segment that you just saw had to do with the idea of Trump starting out his second term robustly, with great support, with great energy, with great inertia to really get a lot done that he just campaigned on. And Ensign said he ain't no lame duck, right? That's what he said. Let's just start that real fast so you can hear the first part of this segment.
I think there was this concern among some folks that Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle.
All right. So he ain't no lame duck, right? So what's that all about? Well, I'm connecting these two now. Think about it. Usually a president in his second term, and there's no precedent. There's only one precedent in the 19th century for a president serving one term, taking a term off, and then coming back and serving his second term. So we're not used to this, certainly not in the electronic age of media. But generally speaking, a president comes in, starts his second term, and immediately he's what's known as a lame duck, meaning he can't run again. So he spent all of his political capital to win the office, and now immediately the knives are out. Immediately, people in his own party begin jockeying because they want to be the next president, and they start working, and he doesn't have the same kind of political clout that he would normally have. In fact, the biggest danger for a lame duck president is that he can't lean on members of Congress who might not be inclined to vote his way for one reason or another. You know, that president picks up the phone and says, hey, I need you to vote for me. Come on, it's important. And the congressman can say, dude, you're done. You're not running again. I mean, they wouldn't say it that disrespectfully, but that's the attitude. You're a lame duck. You're just playing out your second term. You're not where the action is. The action is on the new guy. You see where I'm going here, right? By floating this idea, and it's just an idea, and it's not really going anywhere. It's just sort of a meme. But by floating this idea that maybe Trump might run again, maybe he'll test the waters. Maybe if there really are that many people out there telling him he should run for a third term, as Trump keeps saying. I don't want to talk about it, but there are a lot of people out there who are saying it. Are there? By continuing to float that and talk about it and lay in this sort of underswell that can't truly be measured, that maybe Trump might run again, maybe he's not a lame duck after all, maybe he actually has a lot of political influence, maybe you better fall in line and follow the leader of the party right now because he's got a hell of a lot of clout. And if you got on his bad side, you're in trouble. Well, that sort of makes sense, doesn't it? And it makes sense why he's leading the way he's leading. As Mr. Endon at CNN just said, like it or not, agree with it or not, you cannot dispute the fact that he is going full throttle and he doesn't really seem to care. And that is political power. It's actually keeping his party in line, even with the slimmest of margins in the House of Representatives. No one wants to be on his bad side, publicly or privately. And that's the power of the presidency when you're not a lame duck, even though by every definition, he is. So how does that manifest itself? Well, let's continue the good news. Let's keep the good times rolling. Let's turn to Karoline Leavitt last night on Fox News Channel.
Karoline, is the president taking the resistance seriously?
How could you take them seriously after those videos, Jesse? I'm not sure if I should laugh or cry that this is the current state of the modern day Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has been completely captivated by these far left lunatics. And I'm not sure which Democrat on Capitol Hill is going to stand up and be the sensible voice, but I won't hold my breath, and best of luck to them if one chooses to stand up. They are enjoying their lowest approval rating ever because this is who they are trying to represent. These far left activists who don't stand for anything. They only stand against Donald Trump, and they hate, as you just heard from that one individual who wished death upon the president of the United States. They not just hate him, they hate the nearly 80 million Americans who elected to vote him. The Democrats have officially become the party of crazy. President Trump and the Republicans are the party of common sense.
The party of crazy is fantastic and accurate, by the way. And that's the flip side of governing from a position of power, of a position of confidence, and a position of political clout. Is that the flip side is you can mock your political opponents as they continue to squander any opportunity they have for legitimacy. In fact, this weekend was probably the best financed, best organized, and most overwhelming show of opposition to the Trump presidency we've seen yet, with those marches that were all astroturfed and paid for by Soros groups and all that stuff. But what has it done for them? I mean, honestly, what has it done for them? Here we are on Tuesday, the march was Saturday, and all we're doing is laughing at them and making fun of them. And nothing has actually been advanced. Everyone felt good going out there and marching on a beautiful early spring morning. but nothing happened, nor will anything happen because of it. They're worthy of mockery and disdain and punchlines. And you've got Fox News running video of the protest because they think it actually makes Trump look better, which it does. Trump looks like the grown-up in the room compared to these people. Remember when Obama used to do this? When people criticized him? That's what this is. I mean, the Democrats continue to drop in the polls. They have nobody leading them. They have no legitimate argument to make that people can rally around. Once again, since the moment Donald Trump got on that golden escalator in 2015, the Democrat Party has coalesced around what they oppose and have never been able to tell the American people what they are for. And they continue to be leaderless. You saw this story yesterday about this sort of Jurassic Park style thing where they found DNA from a 10,000 year extinct dire wolf, which I thought, by the way, was a mythical animal that I just dealt with in the Dragon Age series of video games. But no, apparently the dire wolves were a real thing. And they've cloned a dire wolf, right? You saw the little white dire wolf puppies where they got from the DNA, and they're doing like, what could go wrong, Jurassic Park? Well, the Democrats are now so leaderless that they're actually considering this. They're going to try to find some DNA samples of John F. Kennedy Jr. They're going to embrace the golden age and bring back their hero, JFK. Did I say junior? I meant senior. Sorry. They're going to get some DNA samples of John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. They need to get that passion back, right? So they're going to get the DNA. They're going to clone him. They're going to raise him. And finally, they're going to have a leader. JFK is back, baby, and so are the Democrats. The problem is JFK, reborn today, is a Republican. Just look at what he stood for. All of his policies. So that's fine. He'll run as a Republican, and they'll be right back where they were.